It's a big breaking news that we're getting to you right now. It's a national exclusive, a big terroristan expose. The planning of targeted killings in Kashmir was done a year ago in Muzaffarabad of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. On the 21st of September 2021, a meeting was held in Muzaffarabad of PoK between ISI officers and different terrorists. My colleague Arvind Ojha is now joining me live on this. Arvind, और क्या जानकारी दे सकते हैं? जो टारगेटेड किलिंग्स हो रहे हैं कश्मीर में, उसका सीधा जो लिंक है वो पीओके के साथ है।
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए, और इंडिया टुडे के पास एक्सक्लूसिव कॉपी है इंटेलिजेंस अलर्ट की, जो ये बताती है कि 21 सितंबर 2021 को पाकिस्तान ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर पीओके में के मुजफ्फराबाद में आईएसआई के जो टॉप ऑफिशियल थे उनकी और अलग अलग जो टेरर ग्रुप थे उनके बीच एक मीटिंग हुई थी, जिसमें ये घंटों मीटिंग हुई थी पीओके में आईएसआई अफसर और टेररिस्ट ग्रुप के बीच, जिसमें प्लानिंग हुई थी कि अलग अलग और नए नाम से टेररिस्ट ग्रुप बनाए जाएंगे। उसके बाद वो टेरर ग्रुप कश्मीर में टारगेट किलिंग को अंजाम देंगे। हिट लिस्ट बनाई गई थी 200 लोगों की, जिसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के एम्प्लॉइज, आर्मी के जवान, सिक्योरिटी पर्सनल और कश्मीरी पंडित, इनको निशाना बनाया जाएगा। सितंबर 2021 में मीटिंग हुई थी पॉलमी, और उसके कुछ महीनों बाद से अगर आप देखिए तो कश्मीर में अलग अलग इलाकों में टारगेट किलिंग की जो इंसिडेंट है वो हो रही है। इंटेलिजेंस अलर्ट की कॉपी भी इंडिया टुडे के पास है, हमने एक्सक्लूसिवली एक्सेस किया है, जिसमें जो आईएसआई की पीओके में मीटिंग हुई थी उसका पूरा ब्यौरा है कि किस तरीके से मीटिंग हुई थी। उस मीटिंग में बाकायदा ये बताया गया था, चाहे उसमें जैश-ए-मोहम्मद, लश्कर, ये तमाम जो पाकिस्तान आईएसआई के अंतर्गत जो टेरर ग्रुप आते हैं, उनको ये हिदायत दी गई थी कि अब नए नाम से, जैसे आजकल आपने देखा होगा पॉलमी की जो टारगेट किलिंग की वारदातें हो रही है, उसके बाद कश्मीर टाइगर नाम से एक जो ग्रुप है वो क्लेम करता है। दरअसल ये एक आईएसआई का हथकंडा है कि चूंकि जैश-ए-मोहम्मद और लश्कर-ए-तोयबा का जैसे ही नाम आता है पाकिस्तान आईएसआई एक्सपोज होता है, तो इसलिए नए टेरर ग्रुप बनाए गए, फॉर्म किए गए, और वो लगातार कश्मीर में टारगेट किलिंग की वारदात को अंजाम देते हैं। तो इंडिया टुडे पर पाकिस्तान की खुफिया एजेंसी आईएसआई पूरी तरह से एक्सपोज हो रही है। ये अलर्ट की कॉपी इंडिया टुडे के पास है, जो बताती है कि वेल प्लान आईएसआई का ये प्लानिंग थी। पीओके में इसके लिए बाकायदा मीटिंग की गई थी 21 सितंबर 2021 को, और उस मीटिंग को एग्जीक्यूट किया जा रहा है। यहाँ तक इस अलर्ट की कॉपी में ये भी लिखा हुआ है कि किस तरीके से ड्रोन के जरिए उरी सेक्टर से जो छोटे हथियार हैं, छोटे वेपन्स हैं, वो सप्लाई हो रहा है। उसके बाद वो टेररिस्ट पाते हैं और टेरर जो टारगेट किलिंग की वारदात है उसको अंजाम देते हैं। उसमें लिखा हुआ है कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के एम्प्लॉइज, कश्मीरी पंडितों को निशाना बनाना है, टारगेट किलिंग की वारदातों को अंजाम देना। पॉल में
अरविंद, तो आप ये बता रहे हैं कि जो इंटेलिजेंस कॉपी जो Okay, Arvind, just hold on for a minute. Mr. Sushant Sareen is joining us on the phone line right now. Mr. Sareen, thank you so much for speaking to India Today. What my colleague is bringing to us exclusively right now is information of a meeting that happened in Muzaffarabad in PoK on the 21st of September 2021, where ISI and different terror groups in fact met, and they decided that under the garb of smallish terror group names like Kashmir Tigers, for instance, which is a name which is coming to the fore very recently in the case of civilian killings in Kashmir, were to in fact target civilians, specific targets. He says that there was a hit list of 200 individuals, which included Kashmiri Pandits, central government employees, army jawans as well.
So yeah, look, if you look at I'm not privy to this particular report which your correspondent has brought out, but if you look at the way events have unfolded over the last 7-8 months, it's very clear that there was a pattern to the killings that were taking place. These were soft targets. These were people who were defenseless, people who were not armed, people who had no protection, people who were living in areas where they could be very easily targeted. And the whole idea was to sow a fear in the minds of the minorities, make sure that they are pushed out of the valley, a kind of an ethnic cleansing campaign, but under the guise of preventing what quote unquote they call a demographic change taking place in Kashmir, which is utter nonsense. Nothing of the sort is happening. But the attacks follow that pattern. The problem, however, is that if the Indian intelligence agency, the IB, had this kind of input, had this information, then why was it not translated into action on the ground to prevent these guys from succeeding? And
Right.
I think that is where questions need to be asked as to why, for example, yesterday's killing, the bank manager.
Yeah.
When you know that these people are vulnerable, when you know that there is this kind of a dastardly plan which is being hatched by the terrorists, then why would you send somebody who is a prime target into an area which is a hotbed of terrorism without any kind of security, without any kind of support, and make him into a kind of a sitting duck? So I think there are serious questions which the government also needs to be asked. But having said that, I think the intelligence input is probably conforms to what we are seeing on the ground.
Right, absolutely. And like you're saying, Mr. Sareen, that there seem to be a pattern to these killings as well. Do you think Pakistan in some sense has changed its strategy, sir? The kind of hybrid terror that we're seeing. Also, my colleague was reporting about the fact about how they're not using AK-47s anymore, possibly dropping small weapons, using drones now across the border as well. Pistols, for instance, sir.
Yeah, because the idea, look, the face of terrorism has changed because now it's pure and simple terrorism. Their attempts to kind of stoke an insurgency, mass civil insurrection, all of them have come a cropper, right?
Right.
But what they have now started doing is pure, simple, unadulterated terror. And for that, you don't necessarily need heavy weapons. You don't need rocket launchers. You don't need AK-47s. You don't need any of that equipment. All you need is a handgun. A handgun which is very easily operatable by people who are not necessarily very well trained, but who have been radicalized to a point where they think nothing of going and killing a human being and then going back to business as usual, what the Jammu and Kashmir police calls hybrid terrorism, which we know has taken root in the valley. So clearly that is something which has been happening. That is something that we are seeing on the ground. And for that, all you need is a handgun. You don't even need training to fire that handgun. All you need is the stupidity and the radicalized mindset to go and kill an innocent man without batting an eyelid and think that you are actually doing some kind of a jihad, which is utter nonsense. Think that you are serving your religion or your people, which is utter nonsense. But yes, that's the kind of indoctrination that has taken place, and that is what the Pakistanis will do. And those are the fires they will stoke, and they will stoke them because if you look at the propaganda coming out of Pakistan, it is all about, this thing that demographic change is taking place, that I don't know how many millions of people have gone and...
Absolutely. Mr. Sareen, of course, there you're putting into picture for us, giving us a broader sense of what Pakistan exactly is plotting at the moment. Mr. Sareen, thank you so much for speaking to India Today. Mr. S.P. Waid, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, is on the phone line with me right now. Mr. Waid, what my colleague has accessed is an IB report, basically, of the 21st of September 2021 from Muzaffarabad in PoK, where the ISI and different terror groups, in fact, met. And what they plotted are these, what seems like these targeted killings that we're seeing, civilian killings that we're seeing in Jammu and Kashmir, where the idea is to form these terror groups with different names, small names like Kashmir Tigers, for instance, and go for targeted civilian killings, at least a hit list of at least 200 persons, including central government employees, Kashmiri Pandits and army Jamans, for instance, has been drawn up.
See, I completely agree with what Mr. Sareen was mentioning. I was listening to his comments, and in fact, what the plan you are mentioning of drawn up by the ISI is actually reflecting on ground, and that's why you are seeing spurt in targeted civilian killings. And I also want to mention here the government needs to answer many things. why was Rajani not transferred when you knew and she was, her husband told her she was repeatedly requesting that she faces threats, she needs to be shifted. I think
Right.
there is need to fix accountability on officers' concern also. Why did the chief education officer did not take action of transferring her, or the director of education? Similarly, why was this bank manager posted in a remote area in Kulgam when you know the minorities are being targeted, and he would become a sitting duck? So I think there are many things which we need to answer on the part of the government, but at the same time, we need to shore up our intelligence. We need to locate these small groups by the names of by different names operating, and with small pistols, because initially in the encounters they were losing their Carters and their weapons, AK-47. So that is why the ISI changed the strategy of forming small groups, lone wolf type attacks on and go for target killing. Great classical terror module. Today, that is what you see in Kashmir: a atmosphere of fear and terror all across the valley. Not only Kashmiri Pandits, even local Muslims feel unsafe.
Right. So, and would you agree, Mr. Sareen, of course, earlier was saying that the intent with this strategy that Pakistan is employing at the moment seems to instill unadulterated fear and panic in the people of Jammu and Kashmir?
Yes, it is absolutely unadulterated fear. It is basically, see, what Pakistan has unleashed is a kind of jihad, hardcore Islamic jihad, and they are achieving these through the handlers and through the terrorists they operate from across, and that's why they are targeting minorities, the laborers because they want to derail the development push of the Prime Minister. The minorities because they want to clear valley of all other religions. Any Muslim, any like you saw Amarina, attack on Amarina, anything which is anathema to basic tenets of Islam, they are targeting them. Whether they are wine shops, whether they are artists, whether they are TikTok things, or cinema theaters. So this is they did it in 1990s also, and they are doing it now again.
Right. So, because you've had experience in terms of helming security affairs in Jammu and Kashmir, the question that I want to ask you about is what Jammu and Kashmir is now, Kashmir Police is now referring to as hybrid terror. These are not listed terrorists. These could be individuals, regular individuals who've been radicalized enough to pick up a small arm and then go and kill a civilian and then just go back to business as usual. Is it a challenge now trying to tackle this, nabbing these individuals, who are radicalized enough to do this?
It is a challenge, and we had faced it in 90 also. Asani, and this is not for the first time. Even in 90s, there were targeted killings. The NK police did face this even then, and I think we need to shore up our intelligence system. What is the police station intelligence doing? What is the state CID doing? What is the intelligence bureau doing? A terrorist is able to locate the soft targets, and we don't even know who is the soft target, who could be hit. It's very surprising. I think we need to answer many questions, and I think we need to shake up our system. Something is somewhere wrong that we don't know. These small groups are coming and targeting, and are we living in a blind alley? So we need to, I think, look within and also find what is wrong in our system.
Right, right. Several questions there and several pertinent ones, sir, that you're raising at the moment, SP Ware. Thank you so much for speaking to India Today. We've got that breaking news that my colleague Arvind Ojha has been bringing to us. It's a mega exclusive. It exposes Terroristan. The planning of targeted killings in Kashmir was done a year ago as per the intelligence inputs that my colleague has been able to access in Muzaffarabad. in PoK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, on the 21st of September 2021, a meeting was held between ISI officers and different terror groups who basically then plotted these targeted civilian attacks and killings that you're seeing across the valley at the moment. My colleague Arvind Ojha, who brought us that exclusive, continues to be live with me. अरविंद, जो कुछ सवाल सुशांत सरीन और एसपी वैद ने भी उठाए हैं कि अगर इस तरह का इंटेलिजेंस इनपुट हमारे पास था 21 सितंबर 2021 को, अगर ये मीटिंग हुई थी और ये अलर्ट था हमारे पास, तो क्यों हम कुछ नहीं कर पाए? ये टारगेटेड सिविलियन किलिंग्स हो रही हैं और आप तो कह रहे हैं कि 200 लोगों की एक हिट लिस्ट है।
नहीं, देखिए पॉलमी, समझना होगा कि दरअसल ये टारगेट किलिंग की प्लानिंग क्यों की गई। दरअसल ऐसा नहीं है, ऑपरेशन ऑल आउट के तहत चाहे जम्मू कश्मीर हो, चाहे सेना के जवान हो, वो लगातार, अगर आप पिछले दिनों देखें तो जितने भी टेररिस्ट हैं या टेरर ग्रुप हैं, उनको टेररिस्ट को एलिमिनेट किया गया, कई इनकाउंटर हुए। और शायद यही वजह है कि जो इंडिया टुडे एक्सपोज कर रहा है पाकिस्तान की खुफिया एजेंसी ISI को कि टारगेट किलिंग की जो ये प्लानिंग है ये क्यों की गई। इसमें क्या है, दरअसल प्रॉब्लम ये होती है इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज को, एक शख्स कोई भी आता है, काइंड ऑफ लोन वुल्फ अटैक, वो आता है, एक छोटे हथियार लेता है और रेकी करने के बाद वो अटैक कर देता है। तो ऐसे इंडिविजुअल ग्रुप को पकड़ना भी काफी मुश्किल होता है। कई बार ये ग्रुप से एसोसिएट नहीं होते हैं, ये एक सिंगल इंडिविजुअल कोई भी शख्स होता है, रेडिकल एलिमेंट्स होता है, उसको एक टास्क दिया जाता है और टारगेट किलिंग की वारदात को अंजाम देता है, उसके बाद फरार हो जाता है। और इस तरह के सीरीज वाइज अटैक लास्ट कुछ मंथ में आपको देखने को मिलेंगे। इंडिया टुडे के पास, इंडिया टुडे ने जो इंटेलिजेंस इनपुट अलर्ट एक्सेस किया है, इसमें यह भी लिखा हुआ है साहब कि नॉन लोकल्स / कश्मीरी पंडित, उनको भी अटैक करना है। कल आपने देखा जो लेबर है उन पर भी अटैक हुआ है और पिछले दिनों भी लेबर्स पे अटैक हुआ, कश्मीरी पंडित पर भी अटैक हुआ। तो इस तरह के 200 लिस्ट बनाई गई थी मुजफ्फराबाद में, PoK में, जिसमें ISI के ऑफिशियल थे, टॉप ऑफिशियल, और अलग अलग टेरर ग्रुप के जो चीफ थे वो वहां पर मौजूद थे। लेकिन पाकिस्तान की खुफिया एजेंसी को मौजूदा सरकार से ये भी डर है कि कहीं वो एक्सपोज न हो जाए, कहीं जैश-ए-मोहम्मद या लश्कर का जैसे नाम आता है पाकिस्तान एक्सपोज हो जाता है। इसलिए वहां पर यह रणनीति बनाई गई थी कि स्मॉल टेरर ग्रुप नए नए नाम से बनाए जाएंगे जो इन टारगेट किलिंग को क्लेम करेंगे, और ऐसा होता दिख भी रहा है। अगर आपने सुना होगा तो हाल फिलहाल में जो टारगेट किलिंग की वारदात है उसको कश्मीर टाइगर्स नाम का एक टेरर ग्रुप है वो क्लेम करता है। लेकिन यहाँ इंडिया टुडे पर पाकिस्तान की खुफिया एजेंसी का जो प्लान है, जो मीटिंग है, वो पूरी तरह से हम एक्सपोज कर रहे हैं। और इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी ने बाकायदा अलर्ट भी किया था। लेकिन जैसा आपने पूछा, ऐसे इंडिविजुअल को पकड़ना, उनको क्रैक डाउन करना थोड़ा मुश्किल जरूर होता है, लेकिन एजेंसी अपने लेवल पर, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस अपने लेवल पर काम कर रही है।
जी अरविंद, शुक्रिया इस जानकारी के लिए। Arvind Ojha there bringing us that latest update in the targeted civilian killings of Kashmir, saying that there was an IB alert of 21st September 2021 where there was a meeting in PoK between ISI and different terror groups to in fact go after innocent civilians in the valley. Civilian killings are on the rise across the valley. 8 people have been killed in the last 27 days, creating a panic-like situation in Jammu and Kashmir. PoK-sponsored terrorists have changed their tactics to unleash terror in the valley. They are now resorting to the use of pistols for targeted killings and not AK-47. These pistols have become the newest challenge for security forces in the Kashmir Valley ahead of the busy tourist season. Earlier in May, Srinagar police arrested 2 hybrid terrorists from TRF, an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba. According to reports, as many as 15 pistols were seized from them. Weapons were dropped along the border via drones from across the border. Recovered weapons are US-made Stoiger STR-9S combat pistol. The brutal killings of non-locals continue in Kashmir. After the murder of banker Vijay Kumar in broad daylight, 2 labourers were shot at late last night in Bargam. One of them Dilkhush Kumar from Bihar succumbed to his injuries. The area has been cordoned off and a search operation is underway to nab the terrorists. The attack comes only hours after bank manager Vijay from Rajasthan was shot dead in Kulgam. He was shot right outside his office amid repeated attacks on non-locals and Kashmiri minorities. So Minister Amit Shah will chair a meeting today, a key security review meeting. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, along with other senior members of the administration, have reached the Home Ministry office where they will be discussing security arrangements for the upcoming Amarnath Yatra. Earlier yesterday, Shah chaired a meeting with NSA Ajit Doval over the targeted killings in the Union Territory. Meanwhile, non-locals staged protests in Jammu and Kashmir demanding security for members of their community.
Selective टारगेटिंग से हिंदुओं को मारा जा रहा है, कश्मीरी पंडितों को मारा जा रहा है। कौन से दावे हैं? सरकार टोटली नाकाम है और जो दावे थे कि 2019 के बाद हालात बदल गए, स्थिति जो है हमारे काबू में पूरी तरह नियंत्रण में है, सिर्फ संख्या और आंकड़े गिरने से नहीं है और ये बहुत ही गंभीर चिंता का विषय है।
अलग अलग वारदातों में लगभग 7 लोगों की हत्या होना निश्चय ही चिंता का विषय है। इस प्रकार की हत्याओं का सिलसिला आम व्यक्ति को और पूरे देश भर में एक गलत मैसेज जाता है। उम्मीद करनी चाहिए कि सुरक्षा बलों पर विश्वास के साथ और गृह मंत्रालय की जो विल है, जो उनकी इच्छा शक्ति है, जल्द ही इस पर कोई एक्शन होगा और ऐसे लोगों को माफ़ नहीं किया जाएगा कि नई रणनीति बनाने की ज़रूरत है।
My colleague Manish Pandey is now joining me live from Delhi on this. Manish, given the spike in targeted civilian killings in the Kashmir Valley, this meeting that the Home Minister is chairing in Delhi today is going to be extremely crucial, not just to review the security preparedness ahead of the Amarnath Yatra, but the fact that there has to be a stop to these killings of innocent civilians in Kashmir.
Absolutely, Paulami, and that is why this meeting is held by Home Minister Amit Shah. Yesterday, there was a meeting between Amit Shah and NSA Ajit Doval. The Raw Chief was also present in the yesterday meeting, but today we have been given to understand is that this meeting will take place to understand the overall security measures in the Jammu and Kashmir. And as far as the stakeholders are concerned, the LG, the representative from the defense services, all of them will be present in the meeting. Now, apart from this targeted killing which started from May 12, the Home Minister will also listen to the stakeholders and directions will be given that how these targeted killings can be stopped. Apart from that, how the security of people in Jammu and Kashmir can be increased, and also about the Amarnath Yatra. But the top priority, as you mentioned, is going to be the targeted killing of Kashmiri Pandits in Valley.
Right. Manish, also in terms of, okay, we'll come back to Manish. Of course, he is reporting on that meeting that the Home Minister will be holding and chairing in order to review the security preparedness ahead of the Amarnath Yatra, which commences on June 30th. Now, deceased banker Vijay Kumar's parents are in a state of shock. They shared their ordeal with India Today and demanded justice against the brutal killing. Listen in.
मैं बेटा कौन के क्या मम्मी मैं 10-15 दिन तक आवांगा मैं हाइट और 10 दिन रह गए जाऊंगा 4 महीना को मिले ब्याह करवा के गए हो पुठो मुंह नहीं निकाले मैंने छुट्टी कोनी मैं छुट्टी पर जाऊंगा बेटा एक कर तो मावड़ी का नामा दे
इस घटना तो भी जस्ट हुई है गवर्नमेंट कुछ तो लेती है लेकिन कुछ व्यवस्था कर दे तो अच्छा है लेकिन मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि जहाँ से ये किलिंग के लिए तैयार होते हैं वहीं से पहले इनकी जासूसी से पकड़ में आ जाए तो वहाँ पहुँचे उससे पहले ही इनको खत्म कर सकते हैं.
A group of Kashmiri Pandit employees who were given jobs under the Prime Minister's package for the community are preparing for mass migration out of Kashmir. They have also decided to boycott this year's Kheer Bhavani festival on June 8th. Here's more.
Kashmiri Pandit government employees who are settled here in the Kashmir Valley had given a call to migrate from the Kashmir Valley to their Jammu Jagti camp from Friday. Today early in the morning we reached in this Sheikhpura migrant camp, which houses almost 230 Kashmiri Pandit families and is in fact one of the biggest migrant, or we can say transit camp for the Kashmiri Pandit government employees in the Kashmir Valley. There is not only this one housing colony which has been constructed for the Kashmiri Pandits in 2008, but in fact in each district headquarters there are this is the main housing colony of the Kashmiri migrant Pandits government employees. Then there is also one in the Anantnag in Mattan, one in Vesu, Kulgam, then another Hal village of the Pulwama district, and also in the Ganderbal. Almost all these housing facilities were created for 800 families across the Kashmir Valley so that they could settle there. But after the recent targeted killings in different parts of the Kashmir Valley, including that of Rahul Bhatt, who was a government employee in the revenue department and in fact residing here. We have with us one of the employees and a Kashmiri Pandit with us. We will talk to him. Please tell me one name.
विनोद गोल नाम है।
Vinod ji, you are the resident of the Jammu and Kashmir. You are a Kashmiri Pandit. You reside here since 2010. What compelled to these all families to migrate from here? In fact, you had given a call that from Friday you will start migration from the Sheikhpura to the Jammu. Has that been halted or it is going on?
The migration has been started. 5-6 families already migrated from this colony. Now more are starting. We are ready to move from here.
Okay, now let's take you through the number of killings, the recent spate of killings that Jammu and Kashmir has in fact witnessed of civilian targeted killings. Now on June 2nd, 2022, which was yesterday in Badgam, a labourer, Dilkhush Kumar, was killed. He is a non-local who was killed. On June 2nd itself, earlier in the day, we heard reports from Kulgam of a bank manager, Vijay Kumar, who had been shot dead brutally. On May 31st, ahead of it, earlier from Kulgam, again, a Kashmiri Pandit teacher, Rajni Bala, was killed by terrorists very brutally. On May 21st, before that, in Badgam, a Kashmiri TV artist, in fact, TV artist Arvind Ojha was shot dead as well by terrorists. On May 24th, in Srinagar, reports came in of a policeman having been shot dead. He was shot dead. His daughter, his 7-year-old daughter, was injured in that incident. On May 12, 2022, from Badgam, Kashmiri Pandit Rahul Bhatt shot dead. That was the incident which again shook the whole of the nation. On May 12, 2022, in Pulwama, a police constable, Riaz Ahmad Thokar, had been shot dead by terrorists quite brutally. On May 7th, earlier, again, reports of many such killings from Srinagar, a police constable, Ghulam Hassan Dar, being killed as well, that came in. So the number of targeted civilian killings only growing, and it's obviously putting a lot of pressure on the security apparatus to do something about this.